Name one person here. One.
9 phones went up.
This is not for the help.
She made one decision in 90 seconds.
Ma'am, I was invited.
Nobody asked his name, but then
Is Marlene in the room?
she had no idea who she just touched. You think you can stand in this room, with grease still under your nails? Marlene Voss's voice cut across the showroom like a drop wrench on concrete. She stepped between Keanu Reeves and the row of polished machines, one manicured hand flat against his chest, pushing him back toward the door. This is a private unveiling for serious buyers, not for the help, not for whatever crawled out from under a truck and wandered in off Figueroa. A few people near the bar turned to look. Nobody said anything. She lowered her voice, but not enough, sweetheart. The loading dock is around the back. If somebody told you to deliver something, you deliver it and you leave. You don't touch the bikes. You don't breathe near the champagne. Keanu looked down at his hands for a second. There was a faint dark line along the side of his right thumb. He'd scrubbed for 10 minutes that afternoon, and it still hadn't fully come out. It never fully came out. He looked back up at her, and his voice stayed quiet. I think there's been a misunderstanding, ma'am. Have you ever watched someone insult a person they're about to spend the rest of their career apologizing for, and have absolutely no idea it's happening? Stay with me. Because 40 minutes before that hand landed on his chest, a matte gray pickup truck had pulled up 2 Key East on a side street off Grand Avenue in downtown Los Angeles and parked itself between a food cart and a fire hydrant. Keanu got out of the truck himself. No driver, no assistant. He fed quarters into the meter, the way you do when you've been broke before and your hands never forget it. He had an old canvas jacket on, the kind with a torn inner pocket he kept meaning to fix. Worn boots, a plain shirt that had been washed so many times the color had given up. In the torn inner pocket was a folded card, heavy stock, soft at the edges from being carried around for a week. Across the top, pressed into the paper rather than printed on it, were 3 words: Meridian Forge Motorcycles. Below that, Smallers. Founders Showcase, the Heartline Gallery, downtown LA. And because the man who built the company still believed some things should be written by hand. We don't do this without you. See you there. Walk slow. He walked slow. He always walked slow. He liked the way the city looked at dusk, when the office for towers went orange and the street guys were packing up their carts, and somebody 2 blocks over was playing a trumpet badly and not caring. He stopped and listened to the trumpet for a minute. Then he kept going. The Heartline Gallery took up the ground floor of a converted bank building, 18-foot ceilings. Brass fixtures somebody had paid a fortune to make look old. Through the tall windows you could see them already, the machines lined up on raised platforms under warm light. Each one a year of somebody's life turned into steel. Keanu had been in the room when 2 of those engines were first fired. He'd been the one holding the torque wrench. He didn't go to the front. He never went to the front. There was a side entrance the build team used, propped open with a folding chair, and he went in that way, same as he had for 9 years, because the people who mattered to him on a night like this were the ones in the back, wiping down chrome, not the ones at the bar. That's where Marlene Voss found him. Standing near a half-finished display, looking at a fuel tank somebody had hand-painted that afternoon, the paint still tacky at the edge. She did not work for Meridian Forge. She had been hired for one night for a flat fee by the events firm the gallery used. Her title on the run sheet was Floor Experience Director. What that meant in practice was that she had decided the room belonged to her. Now she had her hand on his chest and $300 of someone else's champagne in the other. Keanu took a small step back, the way you step back from a dog that's scared, not because you're scared. I'm not here to deliver anything, he said. I was invited. Marlene laughed. It was a real laugh, which somehow made it worse. Invited. She turned her head, found her audience. Two men in jackets that cost more than the truck outside. A woman with a tablet. By who, exactly? Give me a name. One name. Somebody in this room who'd put their reputation on the line for you. He didn't say it. He could have ended the whole thing in 4 words. He had the card in his pocket. He had a phone with a number in it that would have made her face fall through the floor. But he just stood there. Quiet. The way some people are quiet when they already know how a thing is going to end. And they're just sad it has to go this way first. That's what I thought, she said. She turned back to her little crowd. You see this? This is what happens when you leave a side door open. You get this. She flicked 2 fingers at his jacket. This thing. Did you find it in a donation bin? And those boots. God, there's a man in here tonight who is about to spend $300,000, and you are standing next to his future motorcycle, smelling like a transmission. The man she meant was 20 feet away. His name was Bradford Calloway. Real estate, mostly. He had the loud comfort of a man who had never once been told no by anyone whose opinion he respected. He drifted over, because conflict drew him the way it draws everyone who's bored. What's the situation, Marlene? Crasher, she said brightly, like it was a flavor of ice cream. We get them at these things. They see the lights, they smell money, they wander in. She looked Keanu up and down one more time. This one didn't even try to clean up first. Bradford studied him. You got ID, friend? I do, Keanu said. He reached for the inside of his jacket. Slowly. He was always slow. And Marlene, fast, the way people are fast when they've decided the story already, reached out and pulled his hand back down by the wrist. Don't, she said. Whatever's in there is fake, and I'm not going to stand here and watch you embarrass yourself. Further. She raised her hand, and a man in a dark suit near the entrance turned his head. His earpiece caught the light. The badge clipped to his jacket read Hollis, protective. Tomas Hollis, the run sheet would later say, 48. 26 years doing this. He did not want to be walking over. You could see it in how he walked. Sir, Hollis said when he got there. He didn't say it to Keanu. He said it to the floor between them. Sir, I'm going to ask you to step outside with me while we sort this out. Of course, Keanu said. I know you're just doing your job. Don't be reasonable, Marlene snapped. It's insulting. People like you are always so reasonable right up until the part where you scream about your rights. She lifted her phone and pointed the camera at him, holding it the way you hold something you're proud of. I want this on record. I want it clear that we maintain a standard at these events. She narrated into it. This individual entered through a service door. He has been asked to leave. We do not apologize for protecting our clients. Bradford laughed and lifted his own phone too. Now there were 6 phones up. Then 9. The room had that particular hush. A room gets right before it does something it won't be able to take back. A young woman who worked the bar, 22, name tag, said Dana, took half a step forward like she might say something. Marlene's eyes found her without even turning her head. Dana stepped back. She would think about that step back for a long time afterward. Most of the room would. Walk, Marlene said, and smile, all of you. Showrooms don't sell sympathy. Hollis put a hand near Keanu's shoulder, not on it. Keanu went. He went the way water goes downhill, no fight in it, just gravity and patience. His boots were quiet on the polished concrete. Behind him the whispers started, the way they always do, low and ashamed and useless. Did she have to do that? Somebody should say something. Nobody said anything. By the time he reached the door, Bradford's clip already had 4,000 views, posted with a caption that read, "When you let anybody in." 3 laughing emojis. The room Hollis took him to was a manager's office off the back hallway. A desk, 2 screens, a water cooler that clicked. It smelled like burnt coffee and printer toner. Marlene came too, of course. People like Marlene never let the moment finish without them. Bradford followed because the show wasn't over. The woman with the tablet, whose name was Priya on the run sheet, but who would, in the retelling, simply become the woman who knew, came in last and quietly shut the door. Run him, Marlene told Hollis. Whatever you can pull. I want to know who I'm dealing with. so I can make sure he never gets within a block of one of my events again. Hollis sat down heavy at the desk. He didn't run anything yet. He looked at Keanu, and there was something working behind his face, some recognition trying to surface through 26 years of tired. "Sir," he said, "can I see that ID now?" Keanu took it out. He set it on the desk instead of handing it over, so no one could say he'd shoved anything at anyone. Hollis looked at it. Then he looked at it again. The room got very still. Marlene snatched it off the desk before Hollis could speak. She held it under the lamp. Her mouth started to make a word and then didn't. She turned it over. There was nothing on the back to save her. "It's fake," she said. "Anyone can make these." "Run the name," Hollis said, and his voice had changed. It had gone flat and careful, the voice of a man who has just understood the size of the room he's standing in. "Run it against the showcase guest file. Not the public RSVP, the internal one. I don't take orders from security," Marlene said. "Then I'll do it," Hollis said. He turned to his keyboard. He typed slowly, the way men his age type, one finger leading the others. The cursor blinked. The cooler clicked. Bradford had stopped smiling and didn't seem to know when he had. Hollis stopped typing. He sat back. The chair creaked. He didn't say anything for long enough that Marlene's certainty began visibly to leak. She said, "What?" "He's not on the guest list," Hollis said. Marlene exhaled. "There, you see, he's not on the guest list," Hollis said again, slower, because she hadn't let him finish the way she never let anyone finish. And that habit was about to cost her everything. "He's not on the guest list because the guest list doesn't include the people who own the company." Silence. The real kind. The kind the master of these moments calls a held breath. Somewhere out in the gallery, the string trio was still playing, faint through the wall, sawing away at something gentle, and it made the office feel more like a held breath, not less. "That's not possible," Marlene said. Her voice had gone high and thin. "He came in the service door. He came in the service door," said the woman with the tablet. Priya, very quietly, from where she stood against the wall, because that is the door the build team uses, and he has been with the build team since before this company had a building. Marlene turned on her. "And who are you?" "I run logistics for Meridian Forge," Priya said. "I sent the cars tonight. I sent one to his house. He sent it back and said he'd rather drive himself." She looked at Keanu, and her look was an apology she didn't have the standing to make. "Mr. Reeves co-founded the company. His name is the F in Meridian Forge. The Forge was his shop. We named it after the place he taught half our welders how to weld. Bradford had found a chair without meaning to, and was now in it." "That's a lie," Marlene said, but the lie was hers, and her body knew it before her mouth did. Her hand, the one still holding the ID, had begun to shake. A fine tremor, the diamond on her finger, throwing little broken pieces of light around the wall. Hollis turned one of the screens around so it faced the room. There was a photograph on it from the company's own page. A man in a canvas jacket, grease on his thumb, kneeling next to a machine on a workshop floor, laughing at something off camera. Caption underneath, "Our shop, day one." The man in the photo was the man standing by the water cooler with wine drying on nothing, because he hadn't even gotten to the part with the wine. There would be no wine. He had been pushed and filmed and walked out for the crime of being underdressed in a building with his own name in the steel. His phone rang. It was loud in that small room. He looked at the screen, and for the first time all night, something moved across his face that wasn't patience. It was almost tenderness. He answered it on speaker because he had decided, somewhere back on Grand Avenue, that whatever happened tonight was going to happen in the open. "Keanu," the voice said. Warm, rough. Older, the voice of a man who built engines with his hands. "Where are you? We're about to start. I'm not doing the thing without you. You know that. I told them I'd walk out." "Hey, Marcus," Keanu said. "There's a small situation." Pause. Then the voice. Marcus Hartline, the H in nothing. The man whose family the gallery was named after only because they had once owned the bank. Marcus, 71, who had started Meridian Forge with Keanu out of a two-bay garage in Glendale 14 years ago. That voice went very quiet and very cold. "What kind of situation? Who's there?" "Put it on speaker." It's on speaker, Keanu said. There's a woman named Marlene who runs the floor tonight. She thought I was a crasher. She's been letting people film it. The line was silent for 3 full seconds. Marlene stared at the phone like it was a snake on the desk. Is Marlene in the room right now? Marcus said. Nobody answered. Keanu looked at her, and his look had no triumph in it, which was somehow harder for her to take than if it had. She nodded, a tiny motion as if the phone could see. She's here, Keanu said. Then you listen to me, Marcus said, and his voice did not rise, which was the most frightening thing about it. That man you put your hand on built the prototype the entire showcase is built around. The bike on the center platform, the one with the brushed copper tank, that's his. He machined the housing himself because none of the shops could get the tolerance he wanted. 40 people in that gallery flew in to see his work. And you walked him out the service door on camera. I didn't know, Marlene said. Her voice cracked clean down the middle. He didn't say anything. He didn't tell me who he shouldn't have had to. It came from Keanu, soft, and it stopped the room the way a hand stops a spinning wheel. He wasn't angry. That was the thing nobody in that office would ever be able to explain afterward. He just sounded tired in a specific, ancient way, like he'd had this exact night before, in other rooms, in other jackets. For years before any of these people had ever heard his name. You decided who I was the second you saw my hands, he said. You didn't ask. You didn't wonder. You just knew. He looked at the ID still trembling in her grip. People do that to other people all day long in this city. Most of those people don't have a guy named Marcus on the other end of a phone. He looked at her, and for the first time he looked at her directly. And there was no cruelty in it, which was the cruelest part. They just have to take it. And go home. And take it again tomorrow. Marlene opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Marcus's voice came back through the speaker. Lower now, Keanu. Do you want me to come back there? No, Keanu said. Don't. Start the showcase. The build team's been ready for an hour. They worked 4 months on this. Don't make tonight about her. He glanced at Marlene when he said it, and the her landed on her like weight. Make it about them. I'm not unveiling your bike without you on the floor, Marcus said. Then I'll be on the floor in 5 minutes, Keanu said. I just need everyone in this room to hear the next part. He didn't say it like a threat. He said it like a man closing a door gently. So the people sleeping in the next room don't wake. He hung up. For a moment, no one moved. Then Bradford, the real estate man, the one with 4,000 views and 3 laughing emojis under a video of a man being thrown out of his own life's work, started talking very fast about how he hadn't really been involved, how he'd just been standing there, how everyone had just been standing there. And the speed of it was its own kind of confession. Take the post down, Keanu said to him. Not for me, for you. You don't want that to be the thing people find when they look you up in 10 years. Bradford took the post down. His hands weren't steady either. Marlene was still holding the ID. She set it down on the desk now, carefully with both hands, the way you set down something you've realized was never yours to hold. The phones were the problem, and she knew it. Not Keanu. Keanu wasn't going to do anything to her. That was clear now, and it was unbearable. The damage was already loose in the building, in 9 phones, in the gallery's own social feed, in Bradford's followers' screenshots, moving the way these things move. Faster than apology, faster than thought. She had built this brick by brick, in 90 seconds, with her own hands, exactly the way she'd accused him of building a fake life. I'll be terminated, she said. It wasn't to anyone. It was just true, said out loud. The way you say a thing to see if saying it makes it less real. It didn't. Probably, Priya said, not unkindly. The events firm has a clause. She didn't elaborate. She didn't have to. Everyone in that room had read a clause like that once. Keanu picked his ID up off the desk and put it back in the torn inner pocket, the one he kept meaning to fix. He looked at Marlene for a moment. Whatever she expected to be in his face, it wasn't there. You're going to lose this job tonight, he said. That's not me. I'm not calling anyone, but the video's already out and your name's attached to it, and your boss is going to make a decision before sunrise to protect themselves. The same way you made a decision about me to protect yourself. You'll know exactly how that feels by morning," he paused. "I'm not saying that to hurt you. I'm saying it because nobody's going to say it to you straight, and you should hear it once from the person you did it to." Marlene's face did something then that no one had seen it do all night. It came apart, not theatrically, just a small total collapse, the way a structure goes when one beam finally admits it was carrying everything. She put her hand over her mouth. Her eyes were wet and she was not performing it. And the people who had watched her perform all night could tell the difference. "Why aren't you doing anything to me?" she said behind her hand. "Because it's already done," he said. "And because doing something back has never once made me feel the way people think it will." He looked toward the door, toward the muffled sound of the trio, the room full of people waiting on the work of the build team. "I have to go stand next to a motorcycle now. Some people I respect have been waiting 4 months for it." He walked to the door. He stopped with his hand on it, the way he'd stopped earlier on Grand Avenue to listen to a trumpet. "For what it's worth," he said, not turning around. "You're good at running a room. You read it fast. I watched you do it." He opened the door. "You just read me wrong. That's the only thing that happened here tonight. You read one person wrong in front of 9 cameras and refuse to look again." He glanced back. "Look again. Next time. That's the whole thing. That's all of it." He went out into the gallery. What happened after, the part the cameras didn't follow, went like this. Keanu walked the length of the floor in his canvas jacket and his worn boots, past the people who had filmed him, who now would not meet his eyes, and he went straight to the back where the build team was. He shook every one of their hands. He had grease under his thumbnail, and so did half of them, and none of them cared. Markets met him at the center platform, gripped him by the shoulder, said something into his ear that no microphone caught, and then turned to the room and pulled the cover off the machine with the brushed copper tank. And the room, the same room, applauded the work of a man it had thrown out its side door 11 minutes earlier. Most of them never knew. That's the part that stayed with the people who did. Marlene Voss was let go before midnight, not by Keanu. He never called anyone. The events firm saw the clip, saw the gallery's name in it, saw their own logo on the run sheet, and did exactly what he'd told her they would do, for exactly the reason he'd told her. And the timing of it was so precise it was almost a kindness, because it meant she did not have to spend the night wondering. By the time she reached the parking structure, her access badge had already been deactivated. She sat in her car on the 3rd level for a long time and did not start it. The clip did what clips do for a while. Then it did the other thing clips do, which is that the part everyone shared. Most was not the part where the woman pushed the quiet man toward the door. It was the part, captured by Dana, the bartender, on her own phone from the back, where the quiet man stopped at the office door and said, "Look again next time," and walked out without raising his voice. That clip had a different caption. People put it under things. They put it under their own stories. A line cook in Sacramento put it under a story about a customer. A nurse in El Paso put it under a story about a patient's family. It stopped being about Keanu somewhere in the 2nd week. He never commented on any of it. That was, people noticed, completely consistent with everything anyone had ever reliably known about him. Meridian Forge sold every machine in the room that night and took orders for 11 more. The bike with the brushed copper tank went to a collector in Oregon, who asked, as a condition of the sale, that the builder sign the inside of the tank where no one would ever see it. Keanu drove out to do it himself. He signed it in the shop on a Tuesday in the same jacket, and then he stayed and helped the new welders with a joint they'd been fighting all afternoon, because that, more than anything with his name on it, was the part he actually liked. About 6 weeks later, a letter came to the shop. No return address, but the postmark was a town up the coast. It was short. It was not typed. It said that the writer had spent a lot of nights thinking about a sentence. It said the sentence was a look again next time. It said the writer had started doing that, on purpose every day, with the new people at the new job, the smaller job, the job that didn't have a clause and that it was harder than it sounded, and that it was also the only thing in a long time that had made the writer feel like a person they could stand to be. It was not signed with a full name. It was signed with one word, and the word was Marlene. Keanu read it once, standing at the workbench. He didn't show it to anyone. He folded it and put it in the torn inner pocket of the canvas jacket, the one he still kept meaning to fix and never did, where he kept the things that were worth carrying around even after they got soft at the edges. Then he picked the torque wrench back up, because the welders were waiting, and the joint wasn't going to hold itself, and there was work to do. There is always work to do. That's the part the cameras never get. The cameras get the whine and the push and the loud part. They almost never stay long enough to get the quiet man, putting a stranger's apology in his pocket and going back to work like the whole thing was just one more night in a long life of being looked at and decided about. And walking slow anyway. He walked slow. He always walked slow. If you ever find yourself deciding who somebody is by their hands, by their boots, by the door they came in, stop, look again. That's the whole thing. That's all of it. If this story made you feel something, you already know what to do with that feeling. Hold it the next time you're the one in the room with the certainty and the phone. Look again. And then look one more time after that. Thank you for staying to the end. Most people don't. The fact that you did says something about the kind of person who's listening. Don't waste it.